It's an industry of excess, baby.
What? Now he's like Black Adam failed. Now he's got to get even bigger.
He's gonna be Galactus in the new Marvel movie. He'll weigh 700 million tons for that movie. Hi, I'm Hudson.
And I'm Brandon.
And we are the Buff Dudes. And in addition to lifting weights, we love watching movies.
So today we're gonna be going over superhero films.
Superhero films have been around for almost 100 years, beginning with 1937's The Shadow Strikes. But it wasn't until recently the physiques really began to catch up with their animated counterparts, in some cases arguably surpassing them. In addition to being escapist fun, superhero movies can also be insanely motivating, and we've selected some of the best and worst examples of the genre. And before we get started, we want to give a huge thanks to TLF for making this video possible. We're wearing their clothes, we love their stuff, and we know you will too. Go to their website, tlfapparel.com, use code TLF-buff for 15% off, and equip yourself out, baby, superhero style. Yeah! One of the first major modern superhero movies was Superman, and it starred Christopher Reeve. Standing at an imposing 6'4", Reeves went through an intense 2-month training regimen with former British weightlifting champion David Prowse, which included 2 hours daily of weightlifting. In the process, he added 30 pounds of muscle to his 189-pound frame. Possessing both strength and empathy, he created the gold standard by which all future superheroes would be judged.
Hey, Jim! Whoa!
Excuse me.
That's a bad outfit!
I mean, I remember hearing the story how Christopher Reeves had the choice of getting his suit padded because that was the typical thing. But he said no. He wanted to gain that muscle for real. He wanted to look good on his own without any padding. So a lot of respect for that guy.
Big time. And little did he probably know he was setting the blueprint for all future superheroes. It's a little older now, so it doesn't quite hold up to some of the modern stuff.
The flying scenes might not look that
little
good.
sketchy. Yeah, just a little bit. But this is an excellent choice for really one of the best superhero movies. Also, one of the best transformations as well.
Yeah.
Spending over a year and a half to get the right muscular look of 1996 The Phantom, Billy Zane transformed himself into the mostly forgotten crime fighter, which debuted amongst a crowded scene of many other corny superhero movies in the mid-90s.
Mostly forgotten is true. The Phantom is probably mostly forgotten. You know, we watch Batman, we're like, oh, the next one is like the Phantom.
Yeah.
You know, is it gonna be as good?
The name sounded great.
It you know, it looked pretty cool as a kid.
The movie was not great.
No, it was not, no.
You okay?
I just feel a little dizzy.
Must be the humidity.
I always feel so bad because
Yeah.
you put all that work in. You know, you can tell he tried really hard, not only to build his physique, but he tried to build that character. And it just wasn't in the best movie, you know.
Grossing over $150 million worldwide, 1998's Blade proved R-rated superhero movies could work. And it starred Wesley Snipes, who began training in martial arts at 12 years old, gaining a 5th-degree black belt in karate. And in addition, he also trained in other disciplines, including Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and kickboxing. At one point in his career, even coming close to fighting Joe Rogan in the UFC in 2005.
I didn't know all that backstory about him and Joe Rogan. That's pretty interesting. That would have been a fun fight to see.
I remember a little bit of it and I had to refresh myself, but it was pretty close to happening. For those of you who probably know a little bit more about the history than we do, I think it was actually Wesley Snipes that backed out. I think once he learned Joe Rogan was also very credentialed, then he thought, oh, this is...
Might not be worth it.
Yeah, this is not going to be the Hollywood kind of...
reputation to protect.
Oh, for sure.
Save his face.
And I can't say I blame him either, because when your role is to be a superhero, but then there's fight footage of you getting your ass handed to you, it's not a really good look.
Yeah.
Coming off of his movie The Machinist, Christian Bale gained an unbelievable 100 pounds for his role of the Caped Crusader in 2005's Batman Begins. Easily the biggest physical transformation on our list.
You watch interviews of him when he talks about his transformation. He's very famous for his transformations, either being very skinny or maybe being buff or maybe a little bit overweight. And he said I think he just ate apples and he smoked cigarettes to get that small.
It's the Hollywood diet right there, baby.
Basically. And then of course now Christopher Nolan comes in, hey Batman, you need to get big, you need to bulk up. We want this intimidating Batman, this big guy. So he gained all that weight and he says himself, he got to set and he's like, okay, I bulked up. And Christopher Nolan's like, I don't want a chubby Batman. So, it's hard, man.
He was
That's
fat
not
man.
easy. Yeah, he's fat man, and you gotta have muscle, you can't just have the bulk. So kudos to him for making that transformation. So I think he leaned down a little bit to show those muscles off.
Captain America helped to usher in the first phase of Marvel's cinematic universe, a universe which has grown into the largest franchise of all time. And a lot of times, each movie features an actor who previously wasn't big, and they had to beef up in order to make the transformation to reflect their superheroic selves. Case in point, Chris Evans in Captain America. So I think this is a perfect opportunity to bring up subject matter that comes up more and more when you're talking about Hollywood transformations, especially
in the room, shall we say.
Exactly. Especially as in Captain America, they literally show it on screen. They're like, we're injecting
They
you.
weren't hiding it. They
No.
were like, this is how it works, folks.
And that can be the tough thing. Do we think some of the transformations on this list can be achieved naturally? Absolutely. But having said that, some of the transformations on this list, I don't feel can be achieved naturally, especially in the short window these guys have to completely transform their bodies. A lot of them not really having been former athletes, not really been gym goers. 3 months, 30 pounds of muscle with billions of dollars potentially on the line.
It's a little unrealistic when it comes to maintaining or achieving that naturally. So,
and I feel like that's kind of becoming the new norm as you're seeing more and more of
how
these.
much of an extreme transformation this is. You'll see some of these guys all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, this is what I looked like before, and then for this Marvel movie or whatever else DC movie, this is what I look like now. It gets a lot of press.
Well, and then it's 8,000 calories a day, 12,000 calories a day, 15,000 calories a day, 50 pounds of muscle in 6 months. So you look at someone, in my personal opinion, Chris Evans in the first Captain America, in Winter Soldier.
He was very natural. Yeah. He didn't translate. It was obviously VFX showing his little guy and then getting the serum, and then now he turns into Captain America. Chris Evans been in shape almost like his whole life. All the movies you see him in, he's in great shape. He has a great body, and he obviously works out, whether he likes it or not. I think he's went on record that he doesn't really enjoy working out. Some people don't, but got great genetics either way.
So Chris Evans, you pass our natty test.
Natty.
Using a mixture of bodybuilding and Olympic weight training, Henry Cavill had big shoes to fill coming into the role of 2013's The Man of Steel, and he proved himself up for the task. Using fasted cardio, training for 2.5 hours a day, 4 to 5 times a week, and recovering through plenty of sleep, up to 9 to 10 hours a night, in addition to a balanced and consistent eating routine.
Now, Henry Cavill's the real deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think his physique looks very attainable. It looks kind of more functional. It looks real world in a way. It's not this kind of like all clean shaven and super ripped.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like he could get in a bar fight and kick your ass.
Again, another very, in my opinion, obtainable physique. Would it be easy? No, it wouldn't. As we discussed, the guy was working out long hours. He was eating consistently. He's getting a lot of sleep. And a lot of times they have world-class chefs preparing a lot of this stuff. So it makes life just a little bit easier because they do have grueling work hours. But Henry Cavill, in my opinion, probably made one of the best transformations on this list. Second only to the next movie on this list.
What?
Stay tuned. Literally right now, because we're just about.
What?
Okay.
Tell me.
Okay, here it is. I'm telling you. A true transformation story, Hugh Jackman's evolution can be followed from the very first X-Men in 2000 all the way up to 2014's Days of Future Past, which features arguably one of the greatest superhero physiques ever put to film.
I 100% agree with that. I mean, it's very rarely you see a physique on screen and you're immediately just like, fuck, I want to look like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like Hugh Jackman attained that in that movie. I mean, you see that, but you sit on that chair, he's got bubbles and he gets up. He's just ripped, he's lean, he's mean. But it's not like a bodybuilder physique. It looks like a Wolverine physique.
It does.
That guy nailed it.
And reading his preparation for the scene, again, you can have some people that they say, is this even possible to get in this shape? I think it is, personally. He was very transparent with how he got there, the way, the water depletion, the tan, getting the pump on before the shot. Lighting and angles can play a real role in helping to aid in an already great physique, which he had.
We got to see his ass in 80 foot, like
every dimple,
every little dimple and striation.
Every curve crater. They put animanium in that ass.
It might actually. Damn, it doesn't look like it.
Previously portraying Andy Dwyer on TV's Parks and Rec, Chris Pratt had to completely change his eating and workout habits when he took on the role of Star-Lord in 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy, going from over 300 pounds to 220.
Damn, that guy was over 300 pounds.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, I knew he was big, because
Yeah.
I watched Parks and Rec before, Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff, and I remember seeing him, and he's a funny guy, He's
Yeah.
like, oh, you liked his character, and they were actually going to cut him out, I think, the first season, but he proved to be such a likable guy.
It was the Jesse Pinkman
Yeah, exactly.
thing. Yep.
They kept him.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of cool seeing his trajectory, and then, Guardians of the Galaxy and that. And I remember seeing those photos being on the beach with his big belly out, and then the comparison of all of a sudden he's in the gym, and he's like his abs and stuff.
Again, very doable. Guy's a hard worker. I know he does. I've seen him do the Murph challenge, which is not easy by any means. The guy's in there. He's getting the grind. His father-in-law is Arnold Schwarzenegger now.
Exactly.
So I mean,
some good tips,
I know, right? Talk about pressure, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you could never, no matter what you look like, you're never going to be a prime. Yeah.
With this squat.
What a great, hopefully a great father-in-law to have.
Yeah, right.
When you're not getting
So
shit on.
eliminated.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, he probably just shows them all his Olympia statues.
Right.
He's like, what have you got? I enjoy his story. Being a little heftier growing up as a kid, it was like weight loss was always harder for me than weight gain. A lot of these guys had to bulk up for their roles. So Chris Pratt, also Henry Cavill, another case of guys, they had to slim down a little bit.
My nickname in school was Fat Cavill, which was a very apt nickname, considering my name was indeed Cavill and I was indeed fat.
It's nice to hear their stories, and I
Yes.
think that's what gets you more connected to their transformation, and it's more motivating that way.
Exactly.
Not only hear, or see what they become, but then hear the whole process.
Exactly. Chris Hemsworth was already more than equipped to portray the God of Thunder beginning in 2011's Thor, but by 2022's Love and Thunder, he'd grown to almost professional bodybuilder levels, leaving us to wonder just how much farther actors could push themselves in order to portray their superhero counterparts. Now, this movie is on our list of best and worst superhero physiques, but I have to say it's probably would also be on my worst movies of all time list.
Yeah, I was gonna say best physique probably achieved by maybe like an actor or superhero, but worst movie of all time. Absolutely. I didn't even want to watch. You watched it. You were like,
I can't
you went to
believe
the theater
I did.
and you
I mean,
told me how shit it was. I actually had to watch it just to see
how
bad
shitty it was. Yeah,
and you were right on every level.
I fell asleep. I begged my wife to leave, but she's the kind of person where she buys a ticket,
Like,
she ain't
I gotta
leaving.
see Chris Hemsworth act.
I know, right? Exactly. Then after that part, then she was ready to go, It was just kind of an abomination of, it's an oversaturation of superhero movies.
Honestly,
it's a whole different subject, really.
It's funny because the hype for that movie all came from that photo of Chris Hemsworth tied up in his body, his physique. And that is something that goes to show how big and how important these like body transformations
the pressure,
and the pressure.
Yeah, and we don't, I don't know Chris Hemsworth myself, but I could imagine he has an immense amount of pressure. And that's something we want to talk about for just a moment, is the body security and insecurity issues. It's not talked about so much maybe with men as far as muscle dysmorphic disorder, but these benchmarks are huge, man. I mean, these guys are massive. You know what I mean? You see a guy like this in a movie and you go, oh my God, like what? How big are these guys gonna get? So it's another one of those things where it
can motivate you.
Yes, it can.
But it can do the opposite.
Exactly.
So you're like, God, there's nothing I can do. I can't look that good.
Yeah. And I think that really, you do have to remember a lot of times this is a fictional movie, and you got it. What I mean? It is. It's you versus you.
And I'm not hating on her, but Natalie Portman, she got that photo and her arms all jacked. I'm like, dang, she gained tons of muscle too. Then I find out it was all CGI.
Wow.
The muscles was CGI.
It goes to show you can't always believe what you see, so just keep that in mind. Just when you thought you couldn't go much farther than where Chris Hemsworth had taken it, in flies Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Johnson, who had already looked great, albeit much leaner in earlier films such as Southland Tales, metamorphosed to almost Hulk-sized levels for 2022's Black Adam. A height and weight only rivaled by the Hulk himself, the giant Lou Ferrigno. Sadly, the tireless work ethic and never-ending promotion couldn't save the movie, which was a critical and commercial failure.
This is a movie that was so bad we didn't even go watch.
Now,
Like, we heard such bad things about it. We're like, we don't even believe it.
And, you know, a lot of that boils down to, again, an oversaturation. I feel it was a lot in the mid-90s, you had a lot of video game adaptations. A lot of them were getting worse. And I feel that's kind of the breaking point with superhero movies. A lot of people were like, well, when does superhero fatigue set in? I don't necessarily think there's a fatigue. I think the storytelling is just starting to drop.
And no longer is it for, like, let's make something that's really good that people can enjoy. I mean,
I think when you take big risks, Batman with Tim Burton was a massive risk. No one really remembers it that way because it was a hit.
Michael Keaton, everyone was like, this guy?
Yeah, Mr.
Like,
Mom.
Mr. Mom?
Yeah.
He's like a comedian.
For sure. Then you had Iron Man with Robert Downey Jr. That was a giant liability.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He made a massive comeback. Even Jon Favreau, the director, he had actually come off a box office bomb previously. So a lot of the biggest successes took massive risks in order to make it happen. And there's not as many risks being taken.
Yeah, the Black Adam with The Rock was almost kind of like, oh, this is easy money.
Yeah.
You know, it's The Rock. Throw money at it, throw all the special effects, and it just doesn't work all the time, you know?
No.
So.
It's going to take more than a cameo at maybe the end of the movie to draw a large audience in.
I know, they did. They shoehorned Henry Cavill in there, didn't they?
Was he completely CGI? Actually, it was just the mustache was real and everything else was fake.
Put a mustache on him this time.
Exactly. Just to CGI it back off.
Henry Cavill. It's like that. That's crossover multiverse. They're all just going to start meshing together. And
it's going to be one big blob. This big muscular blob.
Yes, it's like Hollywood's transformation.
Yeah. There you go. That was some of the biggest superhero transformations, the best, some of the worst. Let us know if we forgot any. We think we did a pretty good job of covering them. Yeah, that is true. And my fear is like, are they going to be getting even bigger? You can't really get much bigger than The Rock and Chris Hemsworth, in my opinion.
Man, those guys are giants.
Yeah.
Sure.
But we will see because
you guys got to up yourself.
It's an industry of excess, baby. Yeah. You never know what's going to be next.
The Rock now he's like Black Adam failed. Now I got to get even bigger.
Yeah,
I got to sell more products.
Yeah, he's going to be Galactus in the new Marvel movie, and he's actually going to make the transformation to Galactus. He'll weigh 700 million tons for that movie. We'll see you in 2027 at your new weight of 700,000 million tons. And until next time, stay big.